In the DVD, it spoke about Professor Wong and how he was one of your great teachers. Could you tell us what most impacted you from Professor Wong?
Well, Professor Wong, as with Paul Reps, Swami Krishnan, and various others, had a great influence on me. Professor Wong was a very quiet, shy man who had been dean of several universities in China, one in Shanghai, who was the originator of a science that he said will eventually be the dominant science. I'm trying to think of the name of it. He and a man, a professor from the University of Michigan State, the sciences of sociology. Professor Wong was both an anthropologist and a sociologist. And we're here because of Professor Wong. When I left the stock market, I was staying in a little dive in Los Angeles called Kipling House. Professor Wong said, let me come back and do Tai Chi Chuan with you. There was no Tai Chi Chih at the time. Say goodbye to you until I see you again. He did, he came down and we did Tai Chi Chuan twice. And he said, I want to show you some movements. I don't know what they were from. One was called circles within circles. I'm not doing this. And I didn't include it in Tai Chi Chih because nobody seemed to be able to learn it. One of the few who seemed to understand it was Rebecca over here. She got around to it. And my legs aren't very steady, so it's a very powerful movement done on both sides. And he showed me something which later became around the ladder. And I don't remember what the third thing was that he showed me. And I forgot about it. And when I started to teach Tai Chi Chuan at the New Mexico University, someone said something about warm-ups. And I thought, well, I can use these three movements as warm-ups. I tried to teach it to the students. Of course, you don't need warm-up in Tai Chi Chih. And these three stuck with me. The man who published my first book, Skip Whitson, knocked on the door one day and I opened it. He said, how would you like, I had written one book for him, The Joys of Meditation. He said, how would you like to write a book on Tai Chi Chuan? I said, I don't want to write one on Tai Chi Chuan. Professor Wong has written what I consider the definitive work, not only of instruction, but of the history of Tai Chi Chuan. I don't want him to think I'm trying to compete with him. So he said, well, why don't you write a book on those warm-up movements that we're doing? He was in my class. I said, let me think about it for a week. During that week, one movement after another came to me, complete with names. I don't know from where or how. At the end of the week, when I saw him, I said, I'm not even willing to write a book on this. And shortly afterwards came the first class. And first class was at Rick Kramer's bookstore. There were about 6 people, I guess. There was a doctor in it who was, I think, Liz, you said that you knew this doctor. He was, I guess, a psychiatrist.
From the
He
VA?
came to the class with a great deal of skepticism. He was married to a very beautiful woman of Indian descent, American Indian descent. He was very skeptical, but after the second lesson, he said to me, I'm starting to feel something, but how do I know I'm not imagining it? I said, Doctor, you're here, but how do you know you're not imagining that? At the end of the course, he said, do you mind if I teach this to my wife? And I'm going to use it in my practice at the Veterans Administration. I've never seen it since then. That was the very first class. I never knew that there would be a second class. It was shortly after that that 3 of the teachers, the new teachers, came to me and each handed me a check. And I said, what's this for? And they said, we think we should tithe. That's the word they used. We should tithe part of our earnings to you. Believe me, at that time I could have used them. I tore up the checks. I wanted to set a precedent that it was not a commercial venture. And I don't know what's happened to them. Anita Page was one of them. I don't know where she disappeared to. Well, let me get on with the questions.
You can continue. This is very interesting, I think, for all of us. This is really the basis of you and Tai Chi Chih and how that has evolved and come through you.
Well, Amy Tyksinski, are you in the audience? That's Amy back there. Amy spent 3 years teaching in Japan, and she wants to go back, and I think we want to help her. Wants to go back to Japan and teach Tai Chi Chih there. And the Japanese people, I'm sure, will be so receptive. They do so many things where they're learning, where they're improving, they're very improvement conscious. And I wish I would be here to go over and visit her there. But I've almost forgotten all the Japanese that I knew. Suri-san, you're the witness to that. Muskashi desho. Oboite imasen. I'm ashamed of it. Things that I knew, I only get them back. Like I asked Suri-san, how do you say problem? And she said, Mondai. How could I forget that? You know, it's a very ordinary word. But I look back with a good deal of fondness of the wonderful experiences I had in Japan, both at Zen temples and at Tenrikyo Church. But It was because of the head of the Tyksinski church that I was able to go to India, which meant a great deal to me. Hayashi-san, Hayashi means forest for them. He was the head of the church. He said one day, "You'd like to go to India, wouldn't you?" I said, "Yeah, but I can't afford it." He said, "I'll buy you a ticket, an open-end ticket, and you can." That's how I met, quite a few people. He and the representative from India, the consul, took me down to the boat when I did go. And I remember the consul said, "I know you don't have any desires." I would be happy hated me. I have plenty of desires. He said, "You'll just be engulfed by India." And he bought me an open-end ticket so that I was able to visit many places like the island of Guam, Shanghai, Paris, on the way. It took a good deal of time. I can tell you stories that happened along the way that I don't like guys that bring up the past, unless it does a purpose.
And just one last question, Justin. What other life work would you have done if you had not originated Tai Chi Chih?
I probably would have been writing music for musical shows in New York. One time, a lady who was the editor of a magazine called 17. She asked me a question. She said, "Is there anything you miss about New York or that you regret?" I said, "Well, two opportunities came up in music. One with the Count Basie band, and the other with a Broadway show was being put on. I won't go into detail on this," I said. And I lost them. She said, "You couldn't have succeeded in those. There'd be no Tai Chi Chih, you wouldn't have gotten to India and Japan and so forth." And that convinces me this is meant to be, and anything else would have been sidetracked. But I would have enjoyed very much taking advantage of those opportunities, which I didn't do.
Well, we're grateful that you didn't take those advantages.
This is a lot of the experiences of my life occurred in Wall Street. When I wanted to get married, my father introduced me to a friend of his who was the head of a Wall Street firm. And boy, I really started at the bottom, but later I got where I shared a seat on the New York Stock Exchange with another fellow, Ruby Rose, and served very well later on. The thing that has supported me these last years has been the stock market. I don't make any money from Tai Chi Chih, I don't do anything else. Occasionally I get a royalty from my television show or from music that I've written, and I get monthly royalties from the books that are on sale. And that was a different period of my life. I remember there was an important event being given in New York City. Probably the best known man in the stock market, I guess a good name right now, was going to give a talk about the future of the market. And everybody knew that whoever was invited was going to get the best food, the best booze, which didn't mean very much. And I went with another member named Lou Brunswick, and as we were about to enter the hall, I saw a pickup line. I said, Lou, I can't go in with you. He said, what do you mean you can't go in with me? You're going to get the best food, the best booze, this and all this. You say you can't go in. I said, I want to cross the picket line. I'm a member of 802 Music Union, and I feel it's a very necessary activity. So the word went around that I was eccentric, but I didn't go in. And I'm sorry to say this, here are people, some of whom are worth $100 million, who think that the purpose of life is to accumulate money. And Sudan people living in towns around the country were markets, not people, but markets. Didn't sit very well with them. And one of the reasons why eventually I left the market, when I got an opportunity to go to Japan, to many people in foreign countries, particularly the Orient, so there was a young Chinese student who didn't speak English when he came here, and yet had the courage to go ahead and take an engineering course at the university. I wondered whether he would learn any English. I bumped into him on the campus one day, and he said, long time no see. I was thinking he might get to learn some English. And he said to me, I have a problem. I've been here for a year. And I've been trying to determine what is the ethic of American life? What is the purpose of it? Well, of course, he comes from civilization where the family, various things of that nature are all important. He said, I've been trying very hard and I can't determine what is the basis of American life. Without seeming to be critical, I've had the same problem. I'm trying to determine that myself. And my life changed very drastically when I got the opportunity to go to Japan. Well, now it gets autobiographical. Kim Grant has been after me for a long time to write a book. And such drastic changes from the stock market to yogis in India, they hard to describe. Do you have any more questions?
I have no more questions, but I do have what I would like to tell you that throughout the United States, probably today, there are many teachers who are gathering to celebrate Justin's birthday. I know there's gatherings, people have told me that they're going to get together in Minnesota, various parts and areas of teachers will gather today. So we're not alone. We're not doing this here by ourselves. Well, we never do Tai Chi Chih by ourselves, do we? There's always this large connection with that energy. But just to let you know, Justin, people are not present here, but they're very present in their groups.
I wanted to tell Doug, but there were several pictures of me when I was leading the band. And it wasn't only in Connecticut, but a lot of other places as well. I see the pictures, I see a young guy. Is there anybody here who has a question?
Could you update us on the number of teachers?
Could you update us on the number of teachers, Tai Chi Chih teachers?
On the number?
Okay.
How many people have been accredited?
That would be very hard. I remember I used to say about 2,000. Hard to believe. because the first teacher's training course, well, I forget that. Since I've been back in the hospital, I had a tough time with memory of names, And unfortunately, some of them do not teach anymore, for reasons that I don't know. Others that I will bump into decide, well, gee, I better get back to it. But
I've heard that there were 2,500 teachers.
Yeah.
How many of those are actively teaching? There really is no way to find out. We certainly have a directory and we have the web. So if anybody has some spare time, you can always count those people up.
Well, I remember Steve Ridley, who was once the head of T'ai Chi Chih, had the idea that one of us should go around the country and check each teacher, and then we would have to know how many there were. But now, teachers in New Zealand, and France, and Italy, and Hong Kong, various other places, it would be very hard to do. When he said, I would like to try it, I said, who's going to pay for this? We didn't have an answer for that. So it didn't occur. But many different disciplines and groups do check on the teachers. Well, not the teachers, I don't know what they would be called, and so forth. Sri Dhanbhai wanted me to come to India, to Baroda, and start teaching T'ai Chi Chih there. And I think he also invited Kim Grant and Lisa come there. I advise them not to go because the attitude toward women is a lot different. And in India, there are various other things they would have found hard to take. The caste system, for instance. I lived with a family in Baroda, and it's an interesting story which I won't go into how it happened, but I wound up there. And the mother was given her husband 3 sons, lived in another section of the house, along with the low caste person who was the servant. Probably the only way that he would eat and have a place to stay. So she lived behind the kitchen and never came and talked around. Her work had been done. She was very nice to me. There are a lot of things that are very hard to say where you have a caste system. And they would point out, well, don't you have the caste system in America with minorities? And no. There's a lot about India that's very hard to take, but it doesn't seem to be active up where I was with the yogis, the Himalayas. The only thing I remember is that it was cold. I think you knew that. Anybody else got a question? Oh, okay.
My voice hear very well. I hope this is not an offensive question, but the Tai Chi has built up my leg strength since June, but my upper body isn't. And I wondered if there's any reason that we couldn't use just weight, like 1 pound weights or something on my arm. Is that something that would not be?
You do Tai Chi Chih for itself. What happened, what happened.
Okay.
I mean, here's a lady with 2 2 cancer operations of the brain. She's here laughing, smiling, and so I wouldn't add anything to it.
So thank you, Justin, for your openness and your
Well, I didn't
sharing.
say all these things, you know. Over the period of the years in the Orient, there's so many things that I believe that, I don't know about India, but I know about Japan and China, of course. Does anybody speak Chinese here? Oh, we don't have anybody who's in China. 2 teachers were traveling in China, and they were waiting at an airport. You were one of them, were you? You want to tell us what happened? They started doing Tai Chi Chih, pretty soon they had a crowd around them. Chinese and Japanese and Indians who call it prana are very familiar with Chi. Talk about it, and I think that Amy will have a very easy time when she gets over there. And she better review her Japanese so that she can explain these things.
So we thank you for your life.
He didn't use all his questions. So I guess I didn't answer satisfactorily.
No. I asked him one question last night that I decided I wouldn't ask him today. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, she said, how much? I didn't hear it, but I did. The issue of the Bible for us, most of you, not a very good issue. There's an article where I was answering a request to the sister, assuring about the future. I had close calls several times, so when I'm gone, nothing will change. And I think that on your sister, it's going to spread very rapidly. I think after you do Tai Chi Chih for a while, you become very idealistic about it. It's more than just a physical thing. So I have great confidence that when I leave you, nothing will change.